Sam, I began, keeping my tone calm. Mom's treatments are getting expensive. The insurance only covers part of it, and the new medication isn't cheap. I was wondering if we could help cover just half of the cost. He didn't even look up. She's your mom, Gwen. Not mine. I froze. My heart sank, my hands shook, and for a moment I couldn't believe the man I trusted more than anyone could be so cold. I know she's my mom, but before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and write in the comments what time it is where you are now. My name is Gwen Hartley, and for most of my life I believed in fairness. I believed that if you did everything right, life would treat you decently. I believed in family. I believed in my husband, Ethan, until he showed me what selfishness really looks like. 4 years ago, I was a marketing executive juggling projects, deadlines, and a boss who demanded perfection. I liked it. I liked being good at something I worked for. But when our son Lucas was born, I made the choice to step back. It wasn't easy, but Ethan insisted. Your only job now, he said with that confident, disarming smile, is raising Lucas. I'll handle everything else. I trusted him. I thought we were a team. Ethan earned $12,000 a month. More than enough for our little family. I ran the household. Appointments, meals, chores, managing the mental load of a toddler, a home, and everything else invisible but necessary. And then it happened. About 9 months ago, my mother, Debbie, fell seriously ill. Diabetes complications. Hospital visits. Expensive medication that insurance barely touched. I tried to handle it with my brother Jeremy, but we needed help. We can split it, Jeremy said, his voice steady. We'll manage, Gwen. Anything for Mom. I turned to Ethan, expecting support. A nod. A willingness to help. I waited until after dinner. Lucas was playing, oblivious, his tiny hands clutching toy blocks. Ethan lounged on the couch, scrolling endlessly on his phone. Ethan, I began carefully, Mom's treatments are getting expensive. Could we help cover even half? His head didn't budge. Eyes glued to the screen. She's your mother, Gwen. Not mine. I froze. My throat ached, my heart splintered. But she helped us, I whispered. When Lucas was born, she stayed here 3 weeks, cooked, cleaned, cared for him. Doesn't that count for anything? Sorry. Not my responsibility. Not a flicker of empathy. Just the blue glow of his screen, the hum of the TV, and my disbelief. I'm not asking for everything, I said. Just some help. A few $100s a month. Please. I said no, he snapped, finally looking up. You and Jeremy can handle it. Isn't that what siblings are for? The same man who once promised, you'll never carry the heavy stuff alone, had abandoned us. I cried that night in the bathroom, clutching a towel, trying to silence my sobs so Lucas wouldn't hear. Jeremy stepped in, sacrificing his savings, even selling his guitar, postponing opportunities. He never complained. Never. And when Mom passed away last month, Jeremy was the one holding me up, steady as a rock while I fell apart. Ethan, standing at the back of the church, discussing insurance policies with his uncle. That's when I started to see him clearly, not as my husband, but as someone who calculated his generosity like it was an investment. Someone who only cared when there was something in it for him. Weeks later came the inheritance. Mom had quietly owned 4 old properties, mostly forgotten, run down, with potential, but never mentioned a word. Jeremy and I split them evenly. When I told Ethan, his entire face lit up. His interest, which had been absent during Mom's illness, suddenly ignited. So, he said, grinning like a kid in a candy shop, when are you selling your half? Finally, we could get a new car. Or maybe a Bali trip. I stared. Excuse me? Sweetheart, he laughed, you've not worked for years. Time to give back. Give back. The words clung to my skin, sticky and bitter. 4 years of managing the house, raising our child, sacrificing my career. And I was supposed to give him my mother's inheritance? Then came the calls. First, his sister, Rosie. Gwen, this inheritance is your chance to repay Ethan. You don't work. You've been covered all these years. This is fair. I let her talk. I didn't argue. I only listened, notebook in hand, jotting down each word. Every implication. Every time the word "oh" left their lips. 5 times in different ways from different people. Next, his mother, Charmaine. During nap time, she called sweetly, suggesting I help with home repairs. The roof's leaking, big garage door only opens halfway. It would really take pressure off Ethan if you contributed. And then Ian, Ethan's brother. Opportunistic as ever. You could help with my brother's car, right? Make it a surprise. The audacity. Every word recorded. Every expectation catalogued. 3 days later, I invited them over for tea. Muffins, pastries, Lucas's toys arranged to keep him occupied. They arrived, anticipation practically vibrating off their bodies. They thought they'd won. I looked each one in the eye. Come, controlled. I'll give you the money, I said evenly. My entire inheritance. Ethan smiled satisfied. Rosie leaned in. Charmaine nodded approvingly. Ian's fingers twitched. Then I dropped the bomb. But under one condition, I continued, voice steady. Silence fell heavy and thick. Tell me where you were when my mother needed help. When Jeremy drained every penny he had. Where were you? No one spoke. The truth hung in the air, heavier than the teapot steaming between us. Explain how her inheritance is now yours. Explain how it has anything to do with a new car, a Bali trip, or Charmaine's roof. Explain how it is connected to the years you refused to step up. Charmaine avoided my gaze. Rosie opened her mouth, closed it again. Ian fiddled with his keys. Ethan's face tightened. You're making a scene, he snapped, standing. Humiliating us in front of the family. No, Ethan, I said, calm, biting back the fury. You did that yourself when you refused to help my mother. You only step forward when it benefits you. Rosie tried to interject. He provides. Provides. I repeated, voice low, sharp. Barely. But did he hold her hand in the hospital? Did he ask how Jeremy coped? Did he care for a single moment? No. They all fell silent. Their smugness cracking. The weight of their hypocrisy pressing down. They left, heads low, indignation replaced by discomfort. That night, Jeremy came over with takeout. Thai food, our comfort ritual. Lucas between us, gnawing on a spring roll. You okay, sis? He asked. I think so, I whispered, tears brimming. I just had to say it. Had to make them see how ridiculous Ethan's behavior is. You did the right thing, Jeremy said. Mom would be proud. She saw everything you sacrificed, every day you cared for Lucas, every moment you gave up your career. We laughed softly, comforted by one another. And in that laughter I realized I didn't owe them a single penny. The next morning I filed for divorce. Not out of spite, out of clarity. Trust, respect, safety, all gone. I sold one of the properties, started a small marketing agency from home, and moved Lucas into a quieter house, one of Mom's properties. Jeremy helped on weekends. We painted, repaired, restored. And for the first time in years I felt free. Last time I exposed my husband and his family for their greed, their entitlement, and their refusal to help my sick mother. I told them exactly where they stood, and for the first time I realized I didn't owe them a thing. But what came next was even sweeter. After Ethan, Rosie, Charmaine, and Ian stormed out, I sat on the couch, Lucas curled against my side, and breathed. It was the kind of calm that follows a storm, the quiet before something inevitable unfolds. I knew I wasn't done. Not yet. Mom had worked her whole life for that inheritance. And while Ethan had tried to reduce it to a personal reward for himself, I was about to remind him, and everyone else, what real value looks like. I sold one of the smaller properties first. Just enough to start a home office for my marketing agency. My clients, local businesses, small but ambitious. Each email I sent, each contract signed reminded me I still had power. I still had skills. I still had my life. But the real thrill was in what I had planned for Ethan. I invited him over the following week, under the guise of discussing a family matter. He walked in confident, wearing that familiar smirk that had once charmed me. Rosie lingered behind him, anxious but curious. Gwen, Ethan said, sliding into the couch like he owned the space. Ready to talk inheritance? I smiled sweetly, pouring tea for all of us. I am, I said. I set my notebook on the coffee table. Before I hand over a single dollar, I want a few things in writing. Rosie leaned forward, eager. Of course, anything. No, I said. You listen. One by one, I recounted everything. The hospital visits Mom endured alone. Jeremy selling his guitar to cover medication. All the nights I cried silently so Lucas wouldn't hear. Every time Ethan refused help, every single moment they assumed my inheritance was theirs to command. The room went quiet. The kind of quiet that presses against your ears, makes your chest tight. Now, I said, locking eyes with Ethan. If you want a single cent of Mom's money, I need an acknowledgement. I passed him the notebook. Every page detailed their entitlement, every word carefully documented. Sign here. Accept responsibility for what you did, or don't. The money won't change anything if you refuse. Ethan's hands trembled ever so slightly. He glanced at Rosie, then Charmaine. Their smugness faltered. You're blackmailing me? Ethan hissed. No, I replied, calm, deadly precise. I'm asking for honesty. Accountability. The choice is yours. Rosie opened her mouth, then closed it again. Charmaine's face had gone pale. Ethan's bravado cracked, the smirk slipping. He knew he had no defense. I can't, he stammered. I'm not signing this. I poured my tea, savoring the moment. Then you get nothing. Not a single cent. And everyone who tried to manipulate me, their attempts are noted. Consider it public record. I watched as the weight of reality settled over them. This was the moment Ethan realized his greed had blinded him. That while he chased his car, his trip, his ego, he had lost the respect of his wife, the admiration of his son, and the trust of everyone who mattered. They left without a word. Heads low, eyes darting. Not one smile remained. The sense of victory? Sweet, undeniable, in mine. I woke early the next day, Lucas nestled in his bed, morning sunlight pouring across the floor. For the first time in years, I felt light. Free. I sold another property, using the funds to expand my marketing agency. Within months, I had a small team, clients who valued my expertise, and a life that felt entirely my own. Lucas flourished in the new house. No tension, no guilt, just laughter and the smell of fresh-baked cookies. Jeremy came over often, helping with renovations, teaching Lucas to ride his bike in the backyard. Sometimes I'd sit on the porch, cup of tea in hand, watching my son play, and I thought about Ethan, about the lessons learned, about the man who thought money could buy obedience, who thought inheritance could replace empathy. Ethan eventually tried to see Lucas, insisting on visitation. But the sparkle in my son's eyes dimmed in his presence. Lucas didn't ask for him. He didn't miss him. And that, perhaps more than any legal or financial victory, was the greatest justice of all. Because here's the truth I finally understood. Partnership, family, and love aren't built on convenience or control. They're built on presence. On sacrifice. On being there when it truly matters. Ethan had walked away when it counted. He had shown in crystal clear terms where his priorities lay. And I reclaimed what was mine. My mother's legacy, my dignity, and most importantly, my freedom. Sometimes I catch myself smiling at the memories of that tea conversation. The way Ethan's face fell. The silence that enveloped his family as they left. That feeling, that pure, unadulterated sense of standing tall after being belittled for years. It's addictive. And I savor it. Life isn't about revenge for revenge's sake. It's about reclaiming power, standing up for yourself, and making sure the people who wronged you see the consequences of their actions. And sometimes the most satisfying revenge is simply rising, thriving, and living fully, while they watch, powerless. If this story left you cheering, hit that like button and tell me in the comments. Have you ever stood up to someone who underestimated you and won? And of course, subscribe for more stories of empowerment, justice, and the sweet taste of karma served right.